Diddle-dum-dum, diddle-dum-dum. There was a turtle by the name of Bert, and the turtle was very alert. When danger threatened him, he never got hurt. He knew just what to do. He ducked and covered, ducked and covered.
He did what we all must learn to do. You
and you
and you
and you, duck and cover.
Be sure and remember what Bert the Turtle just did, friends, because every one of us must remember to do the same thing. That's what this film is all about. Duck and cover.
Hey kids, let's learn about the Cold War, more specifically, weapons of mass destruction. In 1945, the greatest country in the world, the USA, created and tested the first atom bomb in New Mexico. In return, the slimy Soviet Union caught up by detonating their first atom bomb in 1949. Ultimately, this was the beginning of the arms race between the US and the Soviet Union. From that point forward, there was an abrupt race in power, weaponry, and superiority between the two dominant nations.
Deterrence is defined as the buildup of arms to present a nation as a formidable power that should not be reckoned with, thus preventing the start of a hot war. If a nation is able to present itself as a global power with destructive weaponry and a policy of immediate and ruthless retaliation for any attack on itself or its allies, deterrence will be achieved. No nation will be rash enough to take any chances on attacking. Therefore, this grants the assurance of no escalation of any future conflict into a hot war.
A modern example of this is
the construction of nuclear weaponry in countries such as North Korea, Israel, Iran, Pakistan, India, and China in order for these countries to present themselves as a formidable regional power, assert their dominance, and protect their sovereignty from external threats.
General Eisenhower welded his North Atlantic Pact Army together with troops of 11 nations in a force which he hoped to raise to 62 divisions by 1954. European nations are expected to strain their economies to the limit to meet the defense requirements set up in his blueprint. The new laws were the direct outgrowth of a staggering new defense budget of $58 billion. In a world of unrest, Americans shouldered an additional burden in the struggle between East and West, where the race for atomic weapons assumed new proportions and guided missiles took on new importance. The Matador, which someday may carry an atomic charge, was one of America's answers in the armament race, a contest that is the insurance of the free world against slavery.
The topic of nuclear weapons and their role in the Cold War is one that is highly debated. Now, why would the superpowers continue to build bombs after they already had enough to destroy all life on Earth? You see, the Russians are very disappointed about their lack of protection against American weapons. Thus, in response to mass weapons tests in the Pacific, such as Operation Castle, they responded by making the world's largest bomb ever seen on this planet, the Tsar Bomba. This bomb had the power to... The Tsar Bomb. This bomb had the power to wipe out entire cities and kill tens of millions, all within a matter of seconds. It is truly the doomsday bomb. The thing was, though, is that these weapons would never be used in open combat. This is because that meant retaliation, and thus the destruction of all affiliated parties in nuclear fire. Therefore, the creation of the concept of mutually assured destruction. Now just think of the absolute devastation that would result in a world where all major cities are bombed by the Russians' doomsday bombs. That is why America has to step up and protect the free nations of the world in our nuclear umbrella. Overall, the whole irony of the situation is that in order to keep peace and prevent millions of lives being lost in a costly war, the government must invest more and more deadly and destructive nuclear weaponry. The only thing that ever deterred the Soviets and Americans from initiating a nuclear World War III was mutually assured destruction.
Following the Second World War, America had nuclear superiority over the Soviets. This buildup of nuclear warfare was advantageous to the states as the threat of retaliation helped prevent aggressive behavior from the Soviets. However, by the 1970s, the Soviets had built up a collection of nuclear weapons that had surpassed the states, switching the threat back towards America as well as Western Europe. In return, the United States built up their nuclear warfare in order to discourage a Soviet attack. Eventually, deterrence became mutual between these two superpowers, meaning both countries would refrain from attack. The power of deterrence can also be demonstrated by the Cuban Missile Crisis. In October of 1962, the Soviet government decided to place Soviet missiles in Cuba as a way of evening the playing field due to the presence of American missiles placed in Western Europe and Turkey. This crisis was one of the most significant events that took place in the Cold War, as it could have easily escalated into a major nuclear war. However, this standoff only lasted for 13 days as the superpowers negotiated to remove their weapons. The Cuban Missile Crisis is a classic example of brinkmanship and deterrence, as the countries pushed the limits of war while avoiding it as well.
America, America, America.
Hey guys, America here, ready to tell you all about the Cold War and how the superiority of the capitalists won it. So a major question is, why dump so much money into building thousands of bombs when you already have enough to blow up the planet? Simple. The Soviets are a simple-minded people and will stop at nothing to be stronger than us. To them, this means having more bombs. Unfortunately for those vodka-swilling losers, we have a lot more money than they do, and a booming economy, so we can afford to keep on building bombs. This means that the good old Soviets are going to have to dump way too much money in their bomb programs and away from other important things like food and schools. This will make life terrible for the average citizen, and they'll want to join Uncle Sam's democratic ways so they can live way better lives. It's simple, really. We'll make them crumble from the inside and nobody has to blow anyone up. That's economics.